for Doc to come back live on our TikTok, I want to let you guys know, if you're watching this on the live stream and Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, if you're on TikTok right now, hit us up on YouTube, Boundaries and Brotherhood. Leave us a comment, get your questions answered. But today's title, guys, is going to be what is that? The fallacy of people pleasing, self sacrifice, and misplaced expectations. That's a big one for all of us, right? So, Doc, you should be coming in right now as a guest, FCS. I can see it.
Send the invite.
Invitation sent. And here he is.
All
Doc
right.
is live right here on our show. But I want to ask you guys this, right? One of the main things that a lot of people don't understand is, are you constantly saying yes when you really want to say no, right? And you desperately want to say no, but at the same time, your life is also going in a shambles because you're just exhausted of all the resentment silently bitter in your life. And it's all a fallacy going on. And, you know what I mean? The misplaced expectations of everything from your other half, people, your job, your work, and everything else. This is what Me and Doc believes in, helping people deter that fallacy of self-validation, find the release, being awareness, and everything. Carrie Palero, she should join us as a guest right now if she's available. I missed her yesterday. But Doc, explain to us what we'll be going over while I get us all technically set up. And if you want to jump in, Carrie, let me know. We'd love to have you talk about this subject. All right,
Yeah.
guys.
So yeah, this is something that came up. This is something that came up. I was thinking about earlier this week, and about people pleasing and the dangers of it, and how a lot of times we believe this fallacy that we're such good people as people pleasers. And I know this isn't going to come off as very nice in the beginning, but just bear with us, right? Because there's a reason why we do people pleasing. It's not just because we're good people. And again, we'll talk more about that. But a lot of us, we do that, and we sacrifice, and we give and we give, and then we get upset or mad and have resentment when other people don't do the same. But they don't show up for us the same way we show up for them. And that causes so many issues, especially for us as men. And while yes, we're designed to be leaders, providers, or protectors, it doesn't mean that we have to kill ourselves in the pursuit of that, and then hope that other people will pour back into us the same way we're pouring back into them. Right. So we're going to be addressing these fallacies. We're going to be addressing how people pleasing, the dangers of it, what the reality of what it really is, and self-sacrifice, how it's not really necessary to sacrifice yourself in order to receive accolades or recognition or worth. And we're going to talk about misplaced expectations, and how, unfortunately, a lot of us are placing expectations on other people, but we're just placing hopes on ourselves. So we'll get into all that as we work through this podcast this morning. But bear with us, and
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. We got a special guest here. We got Stu Smith here from the Academy. He trains military, FBI, everything. Glad to have you, Stu. I see a lot of people rolling on. Guys, if you don't know who we are Boundaries and Brotherhood, a brotherhood of men dedicated to empowering one another through improving self-worth, emotional mastery, accountability, and mastering communication, just like you see in the slide right here. Because a lot of us need this and the support of a brotherhood. And if you're looking for somebody, leave us a comment. We'll get it answered live. But Doc, please explain what just happened and how is this going to affect what you have, or what the people that you're helping. Where did it all stem from, did you think?
What just happened as far as like where this came from, where I was thinking about it?
Yes. Because if you've been thinking about it, I know it's been bothering you. So what happened?
Yeah. Well, not even necessarily bothering me. It was just a realization, right? And things I've learned before. If anybody who's watching, if you ever read the book No More Mr. Nice Guy, he does talk about this in there, about how we think as men that by serving everybody and sacrificing and never asking for help and just doing that, then automatically people are going to pour back into us the same way. or our wife is just going to be enthralled with us and just want to sleep with us all the time because we're giving of ourselves so much, or people are just going to be willing to pour back into you the same way. And the fact of the matter is, that's lack of better words, guys, that's manipulation. It's not being a kind person. We think, and granted, you might say, oh, Keith, you're coming down on us, we're signing off, whatever. No, stay with us, right? Because I'm not just talking about people out there. I'm talking about myself as well, because I used to be a people pleaser. I used to operate under the same guise. And the fact of the matter is, the only reason I want to be people pleasers is not because we're good people. It's not because we love the Lord. It's not because of anything like that. You people please for two reasons. One, because you're scared of rejection. And so you do everything you can to not be rejected, right? Or two, you're trying to win affection. You're trying to win love. You're trying to win that attention. And if you feel that if I do good enough, if I pour myself out enough, if I sacrifice myself enough, then maybe people will finally see that I'm worth something and they'll pour back into me the same way. And so that's not true altruism, right? That's not true benevolence. That's not doing good for the sake of doing good. Because if it was, you wouldn't get upset or have resentment when someone doesn't show up for you the same way. You wouldn't be mad about that. That wouldn't bother you at all. But you call your kids ungrateful. You call your wife ungrateful. You call all these other people ungrateful, because they're not pouring in like you pouring in, right? And so this deteriorates relationships. It deteriorates our self-esteem and self-worth and our value. It deteriorates us on so many different levels because we're not operating coming from a genuine place. So it's really, really destructive. But we can get out of it. We can get out of being in that mindset, in that place. And so again, it was just a reflection this week, Gordon. I was going over because it traps a lot of us. And of course, because we're working with men, there's also other layers to it as well. Because now we're not going to go into all this today, but the whole idea of to be a man, you got to be alone and do it alone, right? We have all these social things that are killing us, right? Real men do it alone. You don't feel, you don't open up, you don't ask for help, you don't ask for your needs, you don't ask for anything like that. People are just supposed to know, which is actually crazy because it's coming to me right now, because the same thing we get on women about, because women want us to mind read, and just anticipate their needs. We kind of want the same thing from them.
Absolutely. I'm thinking that. Yeah.
On the flip side. Well, right. She should want to sleep with me all the time because of this. How much I work and how much I do and how much I sacrifice and put myself on the back burner and sacrifice my health and my finance and all these things like that. You mean how much you do that no one asked you to do, that wasn't necessarily necessary for you to do, or that you would do anyways? You mean that stuff? And not to downplay anyone's efforts, but if you're doing it because I'm trying to earn something or get something from somebody else. And you got to be honest with yourself as well. And that's the critical part. You have to be honest with yourself. Do not lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Don't be like me. I lied to myself for a long time. I'm doing all this and that, and she can't see it, and whatever. And I was lying to myself. And when I got down to it, I found out, and I was like, no, you're not even being altruistic when you're doing it. You're trying to get something on the other side, And I stopped fighting and being like, oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm a good person. I'm a good person. No, listen. First and foremost, I'm a Christian. And the Bible says there's none good, not one, except Jesus. That's it. So I can accept that truth. I'm not a good person. I have flaws. I have issues. I have problems I got to work through. So by being able to even work through from that lens, and then also you can work the lens, if you're not a Christian, no one's perfect. Right. Mm-hmm. So when you start working from these different lenses or whatnot, you start recognizing, oh, shoot, you know what? Do I really need to sacrifice myself, for everybody? Or can I take a day for myself? Is that okay? Is it okay for me to say no? I can say no, but what if it makes people unhappy and I'm trying to make everybody happy? And I'll share this. I'm gonna try to really keep this professional.
No, go ahead. Here we go.
If you're a man and you say or have said, oh, I'm happy when they're happy, that's what my job is, to make everybody else happy and all these things like that. Please stop. Please stop. Right? Please, that's not your responsibility. It's not even within your power to do. Right? No, you need to start looking for yourself, looking out for yourself, taking care of yourself, and start putting yourself first. And not in a selfish way where it's like, oh, well, I'm taking away from everybody else and like, screw my family, I'm going to walk away and leave it all. Not like that. I'm saying, hey, I can't do it all. I'm not going to do it all. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to make sure my needs are known, and then I'm going to operate from that, right? If I'm pouring into a relationship and I'm not getting the same reciprocal back, then guess what? Oh, well, I'm going to pull back because I only have so much energy to use. But we can't spend our life trying to make other people happy and trying to please everybody and all those things like that. We can't do that. We shouldn't do that. We need to bring it all the way back. Like, okay, let's be honest to ourselves and be like, okay, all right, what can I do? How can I show up? You know, what's my limit? What are my needs? We can start speaking up for ourselves. I'm getting ahead of myself, Gordon. I'm getting ahead of myself. You know,
that's all right.
You asked where it came from. And it really came from just my own experiences and other men that I've worked with, you know, and it's not a frustration. It's just, it's almost like a heartbreak because we do give so much. We do sacrifice so much. And unfortunately, we don't even see it as, oh, we're manipulating or being bad. And that's why I'm not trying to tear anybody down or anything like that. But I'm just saying that's the nature of it. There's other things behind it, right? So I'm not trying to tear anybody down. I'm just trying to say this whole people pleasing thing is destroying us. It's being, you know, amplified by the lies they place on us as men. And we keep suffering under those lies and under this idea of people pleasing and trying to make everybody happy. And if I just, you know, give everything of myself, then everything is going to be great. And when it's not, how disappointing is that? How disheartening is that? Imagine that, Gordon, just think about it like this, man. Imagine a man who's working and giving every single thing he has, his time, his energy, his wisdom, his knowledge, his peace. He's giving everything he has for everybody else, and his rate of return is little to none. How disheartening is that? How destructive is that to a psyche? You know, and it's no wonder why someone might considering, you know, taking their own life.
Absolutely,
you know, I've done everything I can. There's nothing more I can do. Yeah. You know, right. So that's why it's like just a call to bring it to mind so that you don't have to continue going down that path.
Well, I'm gonna reiterate, guys. As you get, Doc goes off once in a while, just once, because very passionate. Because all the stories, the reason why he's in therapy and coaching men and relationships and all that, because he was in that dark space at one time. I was in that dark space one time. Can you imagine you making all this money, you doing criminal stuff, you're doing everything else for the attention or the validation of other people, but not for yourself, right? That's where it all comes on. People join gangs because they didn't get the love at home. They didn't get the attention at home. You do drugs because you're hurt, you're pain, you're doing something, and you're doing things. I remember the judge telling me, Doc, this is my personal story. The judge asked me, why do you did that? Why did you do what you do? Because I told him, I felt like I needed to do this for the people because they couldn't do it for themselves. She goes, your intention was right. You just was in the wrong field, right? Because I wanted to be accepted. And I remember staying at the top of my penthouse, looking over Waikiki, crying on a Christmas day because what I didn't get from the people, because the expectations of them giving back the same love and attention, they wouldn't give back because it was all superficial.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'm on top of the world now, right? Millions of dollars, money. I mean, all the stuff you see in the movies. And you find out that the only person that can make you happy is yourself. And this is what Doc is talking about. I'm not responsible for my kids' happiness. They're saying that I'm not responsible for my wife's happiness, because at the same time, she's there to make her own self happy. Now, do we have struggles? Absolutely. Who doesn't? It's a marriage, right? But we work things out when the emotional charge is not so high. Now, some of this reflects back to ourselves also as men, because we put so much pressure on ourselves,
yes.
Right? And it happens a lot but if you stop and think and you put the expectations and you not say, like Gary Vee said, like one of my favorite quotes, he goes, I'm not responsible for everybody else. My expectations of everybody else is I don't expect nothing. And that's how I stay happy. I stay in my own lane. I do my own thing. And, even for Eric Thomas, he does the same exact thing, because once you're in that flow state, things work out for the better, right? Because the fallacy of you trying to buy somebody's attention will not work. If you're trying to buy somebody's attention and time because of you just want to be validated, is not going to work, right? Yeah. I mean, You could be sitting in a jail cell in the hole in the shoe and everything else and think real deeply about a lot of things like that, what Doc said, but try not to get it to that point. This is what this channel is about, right? Boundaries and Brotherhood is so you can have these things on the side right here, dedicated to empowering one another through our wisdom. There's no place on the internet right now where you have an ex-felon like myself partner up with a therapist to provide you this type of insight, right? And if you have any questions, if you want to work with Doc personally, you can find them at FCS LLC, right? Or you can join our coaching or whatever it is. I mean, it's here for you guys to take, because a lot of times you just don't have direction, purpose, right? You want to jump in? Let me tag you in.
No, no, man. You did a phenomenal job, man, of tying that all together. I appreciate you for that, man. Yeah, no, I think one of the biggest things, like your story, like you were saying, you were doing all these things, and I think ultimately you have to understand that we can't. We're trying to earn that validation. We're trying to earn that love from other people, and that's the fallacy, because you're doing all this, you're sacrificing, you're giving yourself up, you're giving up your body and everything. You're giving all that up in hopes that maybe someone will come along. That's the crazy part. Maybe someone will come along and see it and honor you and love you. And the fact of the matter is, you can't work for that. Love is not something we can work for. It's something that has to be given freely. Yep. Right? Just like when you were a child. When you were a child, you got that freely. When you were born, you got that freely. You didn't have to work for it. Just like, think about it like this, gentlemen. Like when you have kids, your kids don't have to work for your love and and affection. They don't. When they came out the womb, you love them. When they scraped their knee, you love them. When they wrote on the wall, you love them. When they got in trouble at school, you love them. Like it didn't change, right? It's the same thing for us. We just have to break out of this fallacy that we have to give ourselves in this way, in order to earn love, right? And again, breaking out of these lies, because there's some of the lies that we have experienced as men that, like for instance, there's that tagline that, only women, children, and dogs receive love. Why are we believing that? Why are we believing that? We know for sure there's men out there that receive love, but because we've been indoctrinated with these lies, we fall back to these old things. Well, we just got to give, work, sacrifice, never ask for anything, but always needing and wanting. It's crazy.
Deep down, you always want a needing and wanting in there.
Always, always. And so we just really got to break out of these fallacies and really start being honest with ourselves, looking at ourselves and saying, you know what am I doing? What am I really trying to do right now? Why am I wearing my fingers to the bone? And I'm not talking about, hey, we're trying to get somewhere financial. That's not what I'm talking about. It's not what I'm talking about. Obviously, if you got some type of plan or goal, that's, go ahead and do that. What I'm talking about is I'm doing this so I can be recognized, so I can be seen, so I can be loved, right? And then unfortunately, when it comes to people pleasing, we talked about those covert contracts. That's when you place those expectations on other people. You place the expectation on other people that if I do, then you will do. And for one, I hope you understand that that's not even love. That's a contract.
Ooh, that's a contract.
The contract. That's what it is. Think about it. You contract. Think about the crime life and things like that. You're running with gangs and things like that. That's a contract. They say, hey, we'll love you, we'll accept you, we'll take you in, but you have to put in work for us. Right? So we'll do that, but you got to give us this. That's business. Love doesn't operate that. Love happens regardless of what happens. That's why it's called unconditional love. You can't earn it. You can't work for it. The conditions don't matter. It's always going to be there. But we're operating under the guise of conditional love. We're trying to do contracts. And what happens is in a contract, you do place expectations on other people. Think about it now. When you sign a contract, there's something they're supposed to do, and there's something you're supposed to do. Think of any mortgage, think of any rental agreement, any business, anything. It's laid out. This is what I do. This is what you, there's expectation. And if the expectation is not met, then it's a breach of contract. And then we start putting consequences and things in place. But what we men are working for, what we're trying to get is unconditional love. But unfortunately, what we're doing is we're turning it into a contract. And then when the contract doesn't work out, because one, we create the contract, but no one else signs it.
Yeah.
No
You
one
make
else
the
signs it.
contract in your head, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
you wrote it up, and I'm gonna do all that. I'm gonna work so hard, and I'm gonna show up, and
but
I'm gonna
nobody
come
else seen
home,
it.
and I'm gonna do this, and yeah, that's a great contract. And then we're living by this contract, and then we get mad when other people don't live up
Nobody's
to
seen
it.
it.
We put an
Nobody's
expectation
seen it.
on them, and they're like,
Yeah.
what does that have to do with that? I didn't. I mean, I appreciate you helping me move, but like, bro, I can't do it for it. Oh, see, you know, I do all this stuff for you, and then you came and show up for me in this way, or I work so hard, or I do all this.
Expectations.
And it's like, bro, you made that. That's your contract. That's not mine. I didn't sign that.
It's not that
You know?
nobody else's.
And I'll be honest, if we think about this, Gordon, think about this, you know, and men, think about this. Imagine these contracts. Imagine if we were upfront with them. Imagine if we went to our women and said, you know what, hey, I'm gonna work 16 hours a day, you know, 7 days a week. And what you have to do on the other side of that is you need to make sure that we have sex 4 times out of those 7 days. You know,
Why I have people like that. They have
you
it
know
in
what
their
she'd probably
contract.
say? She'd probably
Yeah.
say, no, I don't think that's how that works. I don't think that's how that works. Or imagine going to a friend and say, yeah, I'll help you move, but I'm gonna need you to promise to help me move, you know, down the line in the future. You know, your friend might look at you weird, like, oh okay, I guess, you know, like it would be weird, right? It would be weird, but we create these contracts and do expectations we place on other people, you know, and they don't know it. Then we get mad when they don't follow through. And so that's where a lot of the issues come up with the people pleasing and creating, trying to seek that love. We're doing it the wrong way. We're doing it the wrong way. And that's why a lot of times, you know, we end up alone, or we end up sad, or we end up not being validated because we're trying to get something that, for one, we can't work for, we can't earn, right? We can't earn love. And then we get mad when our efforts don't pan out. So what we need to do is start taking those expectations off of other people and place them in the only place that they deserve to be, need to be, on ourselves. Because the expectation is something that you can execute. And you can't control whether someone else is going to execute it or not. You can't. You could try to make the environment as good as possible so they execute it, but you cannot control what people execute and what they don't execute. You can't. All you can control is how you show up, how you think, and how you feel. And that's what I was saying earlier on when I was saying that, gosh, I'm going to lose my train of thought. What I was basically saying earlier on, as far as, I forgot it. Dang,
Doc is
that
going.
sucks.
Doc is going off. Here we go.
Yeah.
I told you.
But long story short, guys, you know, and I'm not saying here's a key thing. Here's a key thing. The thing that we want is not bad. Gordon, like you said earlier, the thing that we want is not bad. You want to be loved. You want to be accepted. You want to be understood. Those are all great things. Like the judge told you, hey, the things you want, Gordon, they're not bad. How you go about getting it is bad. And I'm also not telling, I'm also making sure to put this out there as well. I'm not telling you to stop working. I'm not telling you to stop loving your wife, loving your kids, supporting your community, all those. I'm not telling you to stop doing any of that. I'm just saying make sure that you're doing it from a good place, an honest place. And then, but also make sure that you're advocating for your needs. If you feel like you're in your relationship that you're not receiving the love that you would like, you need to advocate for that and speak up about that. But don't sit behind the scenes. Well, maybe if I just do more, maybe she'll finally come around. Maybe you just open up and said something and she'd be aware, like, oh, I didn't know you wanted that. You know, no, you do work really hard. You know, I'm maybe I'm not you. Maybe you work 16 hours a day, you know, 7 days a week. Yeah, you do work really hard. Sure, you know, I do love you and all that. Yeah, heck yeah, you know, I'm doing my best to show up for you. Like, but we have to make sure we're advocating for our needs, but we can't have these covert contracts. We can't try to earn love. We have to make sure that we're advocating for ourselves. And if you are drained, gentlemen, if you feel like I'm at the end of my ropes, I'm at my wits' end, I can't do no more, anything like that. If that's what you feel, then I implore you, please stop, pause, time out. The world's going to keep going. I'm going to tell you right now, the world's going to keep going. Your wife's going to be fine. Your kids are going to be fine. Your family's going to be fine. The work's going to be fine. But if you keep grinding yourself into the ground, you will not be fine. So you need to stop, pause. Okay, I'm drained. I'm taking on too much. I'm pouring out too much. I need to pull back.
Right? I mean, here we get it's just one of those things, right? There's a difference between what you gonna have self-sacrifice versus self-care, right? And redefining yourself in this burnout culture that we see because information is so fast and everything is going on, right? You could be exhausted, you could be guilty, you don't even prioritize yourself, you don't even sometimes you don't even give yourself permission to go have a hobby. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Certain things like that. You know, the emotional goal for all of this stuff is to validate yourself. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Feel rejuvenated and
Hmm.
have peace with everything that you got. What Doc was talking about, in fact, I'll tell you this. I just made a verbal contract with the business that I'm doing for $1 million, knowing that he cannot answer for it, but he will give me a percentage of his company if I hit these certain goals,
Hmm.
right? So I'm like, I'm cool with that. You don't have to put it because he has another partner, but he said he'll take it out of his half if I can hit $1 million in sales for something else. And I said, we shook on it. I said, you don't have to write it in paper because you have, but I'm pushing because I want to make myself clear, right? If I don't make myself clear in what I'm doing, right, then how am I going to overcome all those things? That's the same with your family, your friends, and certain things. This is why it's called boundaries and brotherhood, right? Because you
Hmm.
gotta have boundaries for yourself, right? And if you look at all of the things that we got going on, right? If you look at these things, right? You got to have accountability. Guys, if you need this, if you need some sort of accountability, you want to change your emotional stability, you want to learn master communication, take this assessment, scan this code right here, leave a comment for us on either YouTube, get the things answered live right here. Last week we had a blast because we don't want you having so much pressure on yourself that you do something crazy, right?
Yeah.
Because you need to have that. And if your relationship is if your relationship, your friendships, or your values is built on pleasing others and not genuine connection, that's what we want to teach you. We want to learn to foster authentic bonds, not just with other people, but with yourself, right?
Yes. Yes.
Because it's deep.
Oh
Oh, I
yeah.
just went off too, Doc. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
following your lead.
Yeah. It, it's just a big thing, man. This is a big thing. It really, really is. Because there's a lot of really good men who are working their fingers to the bone, and they're trying so hard. And let me also say this. Let me also say this. I know I started off kind of, maybe a little bit tough. Saying like some manipulation and things like that. For one, this is subconscious, right? These are things we learned in childhood. Let me just let you know, this is how we learn to survive in childhood. If I'm good enough, if I perform good enough, if I show up enough, if I sacrifice myself, I don't say anything, if I'm not needy, then everything's going to be okay. And it works in childhood, right? So I'm not here, and I always say, I'm not here to beat anybody up. That's counterproductive. It's
Right.
counterproductive. I'm trying to help you. I'm going to beat you up in the no, that's counterproductive. I'm just saying that this is where it comes from, right? And this is what it is. This is the reality of what it is, right? But we can come out of that. We can change that. We don't have to be that way, and we don't have to work for love and acceptance and things like that. That stuff, it's naturally given to us by us to being ourselves. And unfortunately, Gordon, what happens to a lot of good men who operate like this and operate from a place of people pleasing, they lose themselves because everybody else is the priority. The wife is their priority, the kids are their priority, the business, the co-workers, your church, your community, your organizations. Everybody else becomes a priority, and slowly but surely you actually end up losing yourself. You
Yeah.
don't know who you are anymore. You're not connected to anyone. You're alone in your own thoughts, by yourself, struggling. And it's because and then what we're taught to do is just, what do the people say? Well, nobody cares. Work harder. What? Imagine that.
Regarding what? Nobody.
Yeah, gentlemen,
What?
imagine that. Imagine that.
What?
Imagine you are in the worst spot. Let's think about the worst place you've been in your entire life. And I want you to imagine
Mm.
someone you say, I'm at the end of my rope. And imagine someone coming over to you and saying, nobody cares, work harder. What? What?
I mean, that's what people have been told all the time, and that's something just gets pushed over the edge.
That's
You know, like that
crazy.
game on The Price is Right, yo dee doo dee da, yo dee
Yeah.
dee, and it goes off the cliff.
Isn't
Only
that
so many
crazy
times.
though? We're struggling. We're trying so hard, right? And then at all the effort and everything that we're due, people just say, yeah, no one cares. Just work harder. You know, that's not what this is about. This is about setting you guys free. This is about keeping you from going off the edge. This
Off
is
there.
about showing you how you can actually get authentic connections and real relationship. That's what this is about. So you don't have to be a people pleaser for the rest of your life. You can stop. And the beautiful thing about it is, and this is something like I've learned just through my own experience myself, I don't have to abandon doing good for people just because I'm looking out for myself now. I don't.
Right.
I'm not some type of a-hole jerk going around to like, if you you know, I'm gonna have my way. Woman, make me a sandwich. Like, no, I'm still a nice guy. I still care. I still pour in. I give what I have, and I recognize that, hey, I only got so much, and sometimes I got to pull back. You know, and I know that might let some people down, but it is what it is. But here's the beautiful thing about it, gentlemen. But Jordan, let me say this. Here's the thing about it, gentlemen. Because people know your true character, they're gonna be okay with that. If you say, "Man, I can't do it," I'm going out. No one's gonna say, "Oh, you're not a man. Oh, how dare you?" No one's gonna say that, you know. And many of our wives have been the ones advocating, like, "Hey, you need to take a day off. You need to go do something to enjoy yourself. You need to go hang out with your friends." A lot of our wives are saying that same thing, but because of the fallacies we've been believing, it's like, no, I got to keep, nobody cares. I got to keep working harder. I got to keep going. I got to keep going. Right. So we need to be able to stop and just be like, okay, it's okay for me to take a step back and take care of myself and do something I want to do, to watch the game, to play video games, to play some type of sport, to hang out with my friends, to have a guy trip, to do whatever, to connect, to still be myself and be my as an individual. Because Gordon, that's what it means, like, to be the 11th man, what it means to be a sovereign man, like command every area of your life, right? That's what a king does. A sovereign king. He controls and commands everything in his life, including, but it starts with himself first. And a king knows, hey, how far I can go, right? A king knows, hey, I'm trying to go to war with this person, but they got that. You know, they know when to pull back. They know when to, okay, we don't got the resources for that. Be that for your own life and for yourself, instead of just pouring out on people pleasing and trying to control everyone's emotions and trying to control everything around you. That's not your responsibility. Take that pressure off you. Take that pressure off you. It's not your responsibility.
Yeah. I mean, let me jump in there, because a lot of the times, you know, you got to learn how to break the cycle that's already in your head, right?
Yeah.
If you learn to break the cycle, because it might come from childhood wounds, it might come from still adult people pleasing, but have you ever wondered why you can't stop people pleasing? Take the time to stop and think about it. The answer usually lies somewhere in your past that you didn't dig deep yet. Like that movie Inception or some other stuff. When you gotta dive deep into your belief system and where it came from, and if you learn how to challenge that and you figure that out, you can explore past your childhood traumas to find out where that people pleasing came from. And I can pinpoint where mine came from, even though it sucks. But you understand that, then you can understand what root causes caused that. You know, where that validation, because it could have been from a split family. You only got it from your grandmother, or you didn't get it from your dad, but you got it from your stepdad. But you dealt with all that bullshit that came with it, all the abuse, the verbal abuse, the hitting, and all this stuff. Or you played sports, and understanding those things. But there's always hope for healing and change. But it's got to be up to you, right? Absolutely. Now, the dream outcome that you might want, right, is you could be understood, hopeful, and be insightful because you have all the knowledge that you have, right? No matter what stage in life that you're in with your relationships and everything else, it doesn't make a difference when, where, and stuff. You can always change, because you have to say no to the grind, because you're grinding yourself down into the ground. You don't even know it, right? Because how many of the people that you see come work with you have ground themselves in the ground and been battered so much that they don't even know it, and that's the only way they know. Right. And that's, I mean, that overcommitment, it might be honorable at one point, but the influences that you have going on might be completely different now. Let me ask you this, Doc. What can a person do to solve that expectation problems that they have of other people and not themselves? How can they get over that type of grinding of themselves so that they can have some sort of boundaries with themselves and other people.
Oof, man, you got to love yourself first and foremost. You got to love yourself. You got to put yourself first. And I'll tell you this quote a client gave to me, and he said,
Ooh.
"It's only selfish. It's only selfish if it's taken away from other people, right?
Ooh.
Right? If you're taken away from other people and you're hurting, that's the only time it's selfish. Because a lot of times we as men say, I don't want to be selfish. You know, I don't want to take away from my wife. I don't want to take away from my kids. I don't want to take away from work. I don't want anyone put a burden on anyone else's plate and things like that. And we will run ourselves into the ground, you know, in order to do that, right? That's it. But if you were to take time for yourself, you know, you could show up better in all of those relationships. Higher quality time with your kids, higher quality time with your wife, better performance at work across the board. And so the first thing we have to do is take care of ourselves. We have to love ourselves and validate ourselves. Because the thing is, outside validation will never do it. If you're looking for the attaboys and all that, it's never going to do it. And I'll tell you this right now, gentlemen, because you know what I'm saying is true. How many times has your wife said, oh my gosh, you're so great, you're so this, you're so that, I love you, you're such a hard worker, this and this and that, right? How much have they poured into? Other people have done that. And you know what you say? I'm not that big of a deal. It's not that serious. You know, I'm all right. You know, other people work harder. You know, how often do we do that?
You beating yourself up.
So even when you get the outside validation, it still doesn't work. And let's hypothetically play devil's advocate. Let's just say it did work. But now you have to keep performing. You know, now you're the puppet on the string. Now you're the clown in the circus. Now you're the performer. You have to do better and better and better and better. And that's an impossible standard. To keep showing up better. Oh, man, that was a great thing you did. Now you got to do it better and then better and then better. And eventually you're going to crumble, right? So outside validation will never do it. It will never work. You have to start validating yourself. You have to understand that I don't have to do anything to be valuable, to have worth. I'm valuable just as I am as a human being, right? We're not talking about skills. We're not talking about competition. We're not talking about any of that stuff like that. That's different. We're talking about your intrinsic value as a human being. Strip away all your titles, father, husband, worker, professional, lawyer, therapist, marketer, whatever. Strip all that away just as you are. You are valuable and you are worthy of love. You're worthy of understanding. You're worthy of acceptance. You have to believe that and accept that. It doesn't matter what you look like. They're like, oh, well, you know, maybe that would be true, Keith, if I had a six-pack abs. Maybe that'd be true if I had money. Maybe that'd be true if it. No. All that stuff aside. Again,
take that out of the equation.
When you were born, you already had intrinsic value and worth. Already from the very beginning. You were worthy of love. You were worthy of acceptance, and you should never have had to try to work for it, ever. But unfortunately, whatever happened in your life, that's what you felt you had to do. You had to work for it, or you had to do that in order to stay safe, right? So the first thing you got to do is you got to love yourself. You got to know your own value. Be like, you know what? I am a good guy. You know, I am worthy of love. You know, I may not be perfect, but nobody is. But I'm worthy of respect. I'm really being treated the right way. You know, and the first person, and because the action behind this, right? Because we won't just use theory. The action behind this is you actually start taking care of yourself. You actually start putting yourself first, right? And this doesn't take away, and this is the beautiful thing about it. It doesn't take away from your role as a leader, provider, or protector. It simply means I'm making space for me. That's all it means. That's it. I'm making space for me. So if that means I got to take a little bit of time away from this place here, or here, that's fine, because I got to make sure I'm good first. And once I'm good, then I can actually go and take care of other people and help other people. And also I can do it from an altruistic place, a good place, a pure place, because now I'm doing good, not because I want something, not because I'm scared that you're going to reject me or anything like that, not anything like that, no covert contracts. I'm doing it because I just love you and I care about you and I want to see you succeed, and that's it. And that's the beauty of it. You can get to that space, but that starts with you loving yourself first, taking expectations off of the people to validate you and putting it on yourself, right? So that's where you would want to start, taking time for yourself, learning yourself. And for any man you've been in this for so long and forgot who you are, I recommend taking that time and start figuring out who you are. Rediscover yourself. What do you like? What do you like to get into? What did you drop off to sacrifice for everybody else? You know, or what new thing were you thinking about trying? Is there a new restaurant you want to go to? Do you like, what did you want to do? Like, start rediscovering yourself and building that out. You need to have your own individual self, your own individual life where you're pouring into yourself. And then here's the beautiful thing about it. Once you start doing that and you recognize that, it's going to be a lot easier to start receiving that love from other people, in that validation from other people. Because here's the thing. Not that you need the validation. What I'm saying, you're going to be a lot easier to receive it. Because the fact of the matter is, you know, because you don't love yourself, you don't feel you're worthy of it, although you want it. That's why you push all the other validation out the way. But once it's like, oh, no, I am good. I am worthy of love. I am worthy of acceptance. So then when people start doing that, you're going to start seeing that, oh, shoot, it was there all along. My kids actually genuinely love me. My wife actually genuinely loves me. My friends, people at work, like these people genuinely love me. And so it's going to add so much more value to your life when you start moving there. But it starts with you first. Put the expectations on yourself, love yourself, know your value, know your worth, do your self-care, learn more about yourself, build that out, and you're going to see every other area of your life start to flourish.
No, I completely understood, because a lot of the times the ideal situation you might be in, you know, life rarely matches your ideal vision. And especially you have an ideal vision where it's from YouTube or social media and everything else, you got to learn to bridge the gap between expectation and reality. And it has to be a lot of different things that, you know, to find genuine happiness in here and the now and what's going on, because you came out good already. You know what I mean? Like Doc said before, you had potential value regardless. Sometimes we go all astray. If I had to do 115 arrests, 10 convictions, more time, like close to 19 years in the BOP custody, that's just in federal, I went astray a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But at the same time, oops, excuse guys. At the same time, you have to figure out that happiness will come with you, and it will always start with you, and it always have been with you, and it has nothing else to do with anybody else. Everybody else is the bonus in the world that you have going on. My kids, my wife, everything I've been through, my exes, my people, my friends, my business partners, everybody played a role. Everybody played a part. Everybody played their season.
Yeah.
What about right now? How can you make it happy? Right.
Yeah.
And the expectation reset that you might have going on, you mean in an always cultivating world, in an imperfect world, how are you going to do it? Right. Yeah. This is why we have, if you look at the assessment.boundariesandbrotherhood.com, right, we have an assessment that Doc made that he does it professionally, right? Get on our workshop, get on our things, get into some of the free gifts. Go on to our YouTube channel, leave us a comment, follow us next week, get your questions answered by a real therapist from a coaching standpoint, right? But
good, I want to add to that real quick before you move on to the next thing. You know, I saw, you know, if you guys have questions, right, send us an email. I don't know if what our email is, Gordon, but if you guys have questions, please feel free to send them in. If something that, you know, it's like, hey, you know, can you guys talk about this?
gmail.com.
Yeah, I'm struggling with this or something along those lines.
Leave a comment.
Please send us a question, right? And we will answer it on air, because whatever you're struggling with, I can promise you there are many other men struggling with the same thing. I can't tell you how I work with, when I work with men and they share their story. It's crazy. Like we're reading out the same book. It's like we're reading out the same book. Like we were in the same class. Characters. And it don't matter. White, black, Hispanic, old, young, doesn't matter. It's like the same exact thing. It's scary, actually. It really is. It's scary. Really, you know, really no matter where you came from, rich, poor, it's the same thing. And it's mind-boggling, right? And that's why, you know, we do what we do, because, you know, regardless of the differences we may have, we're more alike than we give ourselves credit for. So long story short, like if you guys have questions, there's so many of us are struggling with the same thing in silence, because I know for a long time, I struggled in silence, right? I didn't open up. I didn't talk about my problems. I didn't talk about my self-worth, my value, people pleasing and things like that. I didn't talk about any of that stuff because I wasn't supposed to, right? You know, and then I'll also say this real quick, throw this in here. You know, Gordon, you were talking about where the people pleasing came from. I know for me, just being open and honest, it came from fear. I was terrified. I didn't want to be rejected. I didn't want people to reject. I always thought that, people knew me. They really knew the real me. They wouldn't like me. They would reject me. They wouldn't want me. So I'm going to be a chameleon. I'm going to be whatever you want me to be. Whatever I'm going to be, whatever you want. I'm going to say whatever you want. I'm going to be super, super helpful. I'm never going to ask for anything. And again, it worked. And that was the problem. So that was me. But I had to recognize that, like, there was even a point in time I didn't even want to tell people I watched anime. I was like, oh man, they're probably gonna make fun of me and beat me up. And I never thought beat me up. I was already ready for the ones. But almost too ready for the ones. But it's like I didn't want that trouble. I didn't want that. I've been through bullying before. I knew what that was like. And and again, I ended that myself with fighting or whatever. But like, who wants trouble in their life? Who wants to be an outcast as a kid? Nobody does, right? So I had to recognize that. So I know for me, there was a fear, right, of me being myself, and I didn't want to be rejected. I didn't want to hurt, so that's why I did it. That's why I did people pleasing, right? And it just so happens that I brought it into to adulthood with the same mechanism, but I also added on, well, I also wanted some things too, and unfortunately, I didn't ever learn how to speak up for myself, which a lot of us as men, that's the thing. We never taught to speak up for ourselves. We never say, hey, I am feeling lonely, or I am feeling a little frustrated, or I feel like I'm not cared for, or whatever. We're not taught to do that. So we struggle and we suffer in silence. So I think it's really important, guys, for us to advocate for ourselves, so we don't have to keep people pleasing anymore. And then that's the thing. You don't have to keep people pleasing anymore. You don't.
Yeah. I mean, the expectations, let me jump in here, guys. If you're watching this on TikTok, I mean, most of you guys right here, go to Boundaries and Brotherhood at YouTube. This is on my personal page, but everything is all linked up. If you want to see what we really do between Carrie, the dating coach, Doc, and my business acumen and everything else, we have so much to give you. I'm going to show you. See, you guys can't see it on TikTok, but go to at Boundaries and Brotherhood on YouTube. Leave us a comment. I want to show you what's in store on live right here on YouTube while we're doing our show, because this is what we have to offer when we start. I want you to find your Doc and even attune to this, right? When you start your assessment, it's an assessment that he uses legitimately to assess where he's at. So we saw where we're going to be at with working with you guys, right? You'll be able to find your voice, hold your boundaries, lead with calm strength, because you have emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence right now is a big thing. As you can see, this glowing glow around here, this is what you turn into, a powerful energy of being, praised by grace of the man up above. We're going to dial in your purpose. You're going to be stop drifting and start leading. And guess what, guys? All this stuff we talk about can pertain to business, sales, relationship with your kids, your wife, and dating. Right? It works with everything. You mean you're going to be able to strengthen your confidence without becoming cold or hard, to do it eloquently, to be charismatic. You're going to be able to communicate clearly without exploding, people pleasing, or shutting down, like we just went over, right? This is just some of those things that we're offering, but the core offer, guys, the core thing is we're going to make you a better man within yourself and find out the true potential you're willing and always had in yourself. You mean you want purpose? How about with no pressure? You want to swing between silence and explosion and be able to be on the calm side? We got you. You feel unseen, but you don't want to be underappreciated. That's the things we're going to be doing in the workshop at the end of the month. We're going to either have a seminar or a mini workshop, depending on our views and everything. That's what we're going to be doing. But just want to give you guys, take the assessment, Boundaries and Brotherhood, and see where you're at. We like to have questions answered live on this show right here. And this way we can figure out how we can get the best help for you. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, we just don't want you going down that path, like I explained, the Price is Right guy, the yodely doodah, and then falling off the cliff. Yeah. We want to stop you at that, between that somewhere. Yeah. Doc, let me ask you one last question and we'll close this out, right? Yeah. What was I going to ask you? Oh, exactly. How do you protect your energy from being overcommitted?
Oh, man. You prioritize. Okay. That's the big thing. You got to prioritize. You remember, you're human. You can't do it all. And I know. Listen, as a father, as a husband, as a therapist, as just as a man, period. Right? You, even aside from people pleasing, we all want to be Superman. All of us do. We want the S on our chest. We want to, pull it out, go fly off, right? Like that's what we want, right? We want that. If anyone's familiar with the old Star Wars poster where Luke Skywalker has the thing in his hand, the lightsaber, and like Leia's on his leg or whatever, and all those things, like everyone's around him. Like, let's just keep it a stack. We do like that. Like there is a definitely an ego stroking when we're able to pull out like what seems like impossible, right? Like, dang, how did you do that? Right? So if you can do it, do it. But if you're talking about overcommitting, you need to look at your capacity. And I know it's going to vary from man to man, based on energy levels and health and responsibilities and things like that. So I don't have a specific, like, hey, this metric, that's when to pull back. But keep this in mind. Here are some just good key principles to keep in mind. When you're looking at the things that you're doing, you have to ask yourself the question, is this moving the needle forward on my goals? We should have personal goals, professional goals, relationship goals, family goals. We should have certain goals.
Quarterly goals, everything.
Ask ourselves, business goal. Like, we should ask ourselves, is this the thing I am doing right now? How is it helping me get to my goal? How is taking on all these other things helping me get to my goal? And if it's not helping me get to my goal, no matter how great it would be for me to be there, I need to cut that out because I don't have the capacity for it. Now, obviously, if you have the capacity for it, by all means, right? Yeah, I can take that on. Like, so for instance, we volunteer with Real Talk, right? Work with kids, underserved youth, things like that. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily work with youth like that. That's not necessarily helping me move towards my goals. However, I got the one Tuesday a month. I can do that. I can do that. It's all those that help me get to my goals. It definitely does. I can definitely take that on. So so I'll say that to say, you would have to look at your life. You can look at, okay, what am I doing, and how is it getting to me where I want to go? Sometimes we're putting all this time and energy and effort into something that's like, but that's not getting you anywhere. So then why are we still moving in that direction? So I think that's the key thing when it comes to overcommitting. You need to look at, what am I committing to, and how is that helping get to my goal? Right. There was one organization I was volunteering with, and again, it was like with youth and teenagers and things like that. And then I started looking at it, I'm like, it is one Sunday a month or Saturday a month. However, my goal isn't to go into working with youth and things like that. It's just not. So for one, it'd be better to have someone else in that spot, helping out. And for two, I could actually go and start working on my business and getting more clients and things like that on that Saturday than instead of doing this. So I had to stop doing that,
Right. Your time. You got a commitment. Yeah, you understood that.
So that's how you have to look at it. You have to look at, how is this helping me get toward my goal? How is this helping me to achieve? How does it help me to move the needle forward? So that's how you would stop overcommitting. Stop and ask yourself the question. Now, even if you say, let me also say this, because some of us get so hyped in the moment, we're so excited, and we're in a group, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna do this. It's gonna be all excited. Yeah. We're like, yeah. And then everyone leaves. And then afterwards, you stop and think, like, wait a second, hold on. Don't be like, oh, well, I already committed, so I can't. No.
Yeah, sometimes you just,
nah, guys, I was thinking about it, and unfortunately, that's just not, I can't do it. I can't fit that into my schedule. I have to, I'm going to have to bow out. That's okay. That is 100% okay. So as far as like overcommitting, take a stock, like stop just on a Saturday, like afternoon or morning or something, Sunday morning or something like that, or after church or whatever, right? Just stop and look at, okay, what do I got planned for the week? And look at your activities and ask yourself, based on what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to achieve, what I'm trying to get to, do these activities align up with what I'm trying to do? And whatever doesn't, cut it out. Yep. Or I should say, you can do this. You can either delegate, automate, or eliminate.
Whoop. Right? That's it.
That's all. I didn't make that up, guys. I got that from Dean Graziosi. So just throw that out there, right? But he said, I'm like,
I did a call with the guy one time. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I just wanted to say, I hope this even hits some of it. Just take 10%, use it, do something for yourself. And I just want to say, if you guys, this part of us doing this is, now I'm part owner, part proud sponsor of this. So if you guys can go over to, you can get this on Amazon right now. You can leave a comment. Website is being built. All these jerkies supports this channel, and this, and then these things we gotta get doc some tasting tests, or because you either like, this is the thing I'm gonna do, Doc. You're either on team soft jerky or hard and dry.
Oh no, it's gotta be soft, man. I tried the hard and
Oh,
dry.
wait, one more team. You're on
Bro,
team soft, just like me.
jeez,
You're
man.
on team soft, guys. I just
Jaw
want to
was
say
like tired,
thank
bro.
you.
It was.
Yeah. Thank you for being with us, guys. If you have any questions, please hit the subscribe button. Follow all the stuff I'm putting on TikTok right here, because it motivates your day. Right? Do everything that you can, and we'll see you next week, guys. Doc, in it.
Yep. Yeah, you guys just taking this home, and for one, I just want to say I apologize if it felt like I was all over the place with some of these things, but guys, the take home message is: listen, you don't have to do it alone, right?
Watch the
That's
clips.
one thing. You don't have to do it alone. You don't have to be a people pleaser. You don't also have to abandon your values as you do this, right? You can love yourself and validate yourself and know your self-worth and value and accept yourself and still do good for other people and still have, manage your energy and everything like that, right? It's possible to have it all. Let's just do it the right way, because the last thing we want is for you to be suffering by yourself in silence, because people aren't showing up for you the way you're showing up for them, but that's because you set expectations on them and you never should have done that. You should have put them on yourself. So I'm saying you could have the life you're looking for, but it starts with you being able to accept yourself, love yourself, and know that with doing nothing else, you already have worth, you already have value, and you just live that out, right? And you start by taking care of yourself, right? So you guys take care. Have a great, awesome, blessed day. We'll see you next week. And yeah.
Support the channel. All right, guys. We'll see you next week, same time. I'll see you guys. Bye.
Y'all take care.